Felix, let's start with you. Your reaction to the president's comments about taking Cuba and the situation on the land today.
I think it's great that the president's shown such an interest in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, the Castro regime for many years, for over 60 years, has oppressed the Cuban people. And the result of these blackouts is mismanagement by that government. They were selling oil when they had oil from Venezuela. They would sell it on secondary markets. And in essence, the whole place is a disaster. What I do see is a president that basically has his foot on their neck, and the communist regime is now wanting to have negotiations to make sure that they can survive.
Yeah, George, this was the third major blackout in Cuba over the past 4 months. Even the president of Cuba warning the island has not received oil shipments in 3 months. It was operating on solar power, natural gas, thermoelectric plants. Talk to us about the strategy that is being used.
Well, I think the president wants to bring freedom to the Cuban people. Again, any money that goes to the island basically goes to the military. I remember I was in a cab several years ago, and I asked a man that had just come over from Cuba, I said, how is it over there? He basically said, if you don't have people sending money to you from, outside the country, you're going to starve to death. So this has been long overdue for the Cuban regime to basically change to something where more like a Dominican Republic, where we'll have a vibrant economy that can trade with the rest of the world.
Felix, we saw some of the video from attacks a couple nights ago where people had gone out and they had attacked one of the Communist Party headquarters. And that seems to be something that is incredibly unusual there. Help us understand the significance of it.
Very unusual. What's happened is that the government is in its last legs. The people are completely frustrated, and they see that change is coming. Diaz-Canel spoke to the Cuban people on Friday, admitting that, in fact, change is coming. You have a Secretary of State who is very familiar with the island. His parents are from there, and is an anti-communist. And, they're putting pressure on the regime to open up, let the political prisoners out of the jails, seeing these rebellions come up in different parts of the island.
Well, the president of Cuba is speaking out about the protests that we've seen, saying, quote, complaints and claims are legitimate as long as they are made with civility and respect for public order. Obviously, we've seen the lack of public order. The Cuban government addressing the protests, George, what's your read on it?
My read is that they are on their last legs. Absolutely. Yeah. They're not a viable entity without a lot of outside help. It's been China. It's been Russia. Now that that's been cut off from Venezuela, the oil, they don't really have a leg to stand on, literally. And, I will say this, too, about, the approach. I met with a dissident years ago with Senator Rubio. His name was Antonez. And I remember asking him, I said, do you think we should open up to the island, give them more opportunities to trade? And he said, basically, George, anything you do like that, and he spent 17 years in prison, anything you do like that goes right to the military just to keep the suppression going. So it's legitimate protest. It's time for this regime to fall.
All right. George, Felix, thank you both for being with us.
Do appreciate that.
Thank you.
So listen to this story. You may have seen it. A school bus